What is good, YouTube? It is Brian. Welcome back to the Fantasy Cheat Code YouTube channel. I am joined by a great duo. One of them I have known since high school. I would like to welcome in the Engage 8 Fantasy crew, Joshua and Justin. J and J, how are we doing today?
Doing great, doing great. Really glad to be on, Brian. Really glad to be hanging out with you and doing some mock drafts. That's what it's all about. We can't do a whole lot else right now, so
It's that quarantine life, baby.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good too. I haven't done very many redraft mocks this offseason, so I'm pretty excited to get another one under my belt here.
Yeah, I think this is a super important thing to do. And so, by the way, this is our second episode of Mock Draft Mondays. We're going to be doing a 12-team, half PPR, 14 rounds. We're not doing kickers, because I don't think there's a lot to talk about with kickers. But I'm very happy to have this great crew on with me, but we're just going to get into it and begin.
Sweet. I am up at the 101. So what we decided to do was sort of split it up. I am at the beginning, Justin's sort of in the middle at pick 5, and Brian is towards the end at pick 11. We wanted to sort of give you guys a scope of each section, beginning, middle, and end. This is a pretty easy pick for me. I rode Christian McCaffrey to a championship last year, and I see no reason to
not do it again.
101 now. Exactly. So
it's a pretty surefire
not much
pick.
to really think about or discuss there. I just have to click the right button and we can move on. There we go. So
yeah, I think one of the only players I would consider taking at 1, if it was not McCaffrey, would be Saquon. And obviously he goes at 2, but McCaffrey is the pick. Justin, talk us through what you're going through here.
Well, I mean, yeah, so McCaffrey is the clear-cut 101, and I think that's a no-brainer there. It's pretty easy choice, and it's pretty easy to win your draft with the 101 with the Christian McCaffrey. I purposefully chose to go with the 105 to give myself a little bit of a challenge here, because I knew the decision here was going to be Zeke Elliott or it was going to be a wide receiver. And there are a lot of different wide receivers to choose from. ADP on Sleeper is telling us that Tyreek Hill, Julio. I don't think that this has really been updated just yet. We're probably still a little too early in the offseason here, but I'm going to go with the target machine with Michael Thomas, because I don't think that they've really changed a whole lot with that offense. I don't think that they've brought in anybody that's going to take away any serious attempts for him, so I think that for me, I'm going to go a little wide receiver heavy, which is rare for redraft. Typically, I'm all about running backs early and often in redraft. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out.
So here I am at pick 11. By the way, I completely agree. Michael Thomas was a surefire receiver. I would take that early. But I'm here at pick 11, and I'm feeling like I want to go for a safer pick that gives me a ceiling, and I think that's Nick Chubb. I really like Nick Chubb. He's getting an offensive coordinator that last season ran Dalvin Cook into the ground. I love Nick Chubb. Normally I would go receiver here at the 11 and see what running back falls to me, but I know which running back I want, so why wouldn't I just take him now? And I'm going to go with Nick Chubb. Back to me again, though. This is tough. So what do you guys think? Is it Chris Godwin or is it Mike Evans with Tom Brady? Which one are you guys thinking?
If I'll jump in first here, it's Chris Evans, or sorry.
I
just put them together.
They did the fusion dance from Dragon Ball Z.
Right. So Chris Godwin is definitely the choice for me, because when you look at the two different style receivers that you have there, and you look at Tom Brady and his illustrious career, Chris Godwin just fits more as someone who can go inside, go outside. He's more versatile, and he's the one that I think is going to eat up those targets. So if you're talking any sort of half or full PPR, it's got to be Chris Godwin for me. I like Mike Evans. I think he's going to have some highlight catches. He's going to win some 50-50 battles like he does every year. But let's be real here. Tom Brady isn't exactly Pat Mahomes when it comes to chucking it down the field. So I like the short, consistent, steady guy more. So it would be Godwin for me.
I think I think I agree, and I was considering Mixon here for a minute, but I don't know how good that offense is going to be to start the season with a rookie quarterback.
Tough. It's tough to read that, but I do like
weeks 1, 2, and 3 count more than people think. Because again, remember, this is redraft, so I'm not necessarily interested in Joe Mixon right now. And I have learned in the last few mock drafts I've done, there is crazy running back value in redraft right now. So I'm gonna go with Chris Godwin, get myself a nice receiver with a legendary quarterback. Justin, it's coming back to you.
That's a good pick there. I'm not as worried about Joe Mixon because I think that a rookie Burrow is still pretty comparable to a veteran Dalton, and I think all it does is it allows Joe Mixon to get even more opportunity. They might see a little bit of some engage 8 defense from the opposing teams trying to fill the gaps there, but I would have went Godwin as well. And now I'm up, and I need to look at some running backs first because I did go Michael Thomas first. I absolutely love Miles Sanders, and I'm getting him everywhere I possibly can. I know there's a lot of naysayers saying that just the second half of the season isn't enough to go by. Sophomore slump, whatever you want to say about him, but I do love Miles Sanders. I also, looking at some of the wide receivers here, having Michael Thomas right off the top, I think gives me a lot of flexibility with utilizing other positions because there's so many deep options at wide receiver this year. So I'm going to pass up on wide receiver for a little while. Travis Kelce went 2 picks ago as the first tight end off the board at the 206. And then, of course, Lamar Jackson at 207 in a 1-quarterback league. That's still a little bit too high for me. So I'm going to pass up on those positions. I'm going to go with my gut and my heart and go with Miles Sanders.
I'm going to go ahead and grab Cooper here and see what comes back. Obviously, I can go receiver again, working back-to-back, which isn't terrible to do here. I could get George Kittle. It's a bit early at the beginning of the third. I usually like to grab him a little later on in the third if he's there. I just feel like it's expensive for George Kittle, especially when there's 2 running backs on the board I like a lot, and Leonard Fournette and Melvin Gordon. Chris Carson even is somebody that I like. And again, there's still those receivers that I was talking about. But honestly, I'm really excited about these running backs. So for me to get Leonard Fournette or Chris Carson here as my RB2, I'm pretty happy about that. I'm going to grab Chris Carson because he's been a little bit more consistent and a little bit more reliable than Fournette, but I am pretty excited about what Fournette and he could potentially do this year.
Yep.
It's all you, Justin.
Okay. I like the Chris Carson pick. I'm a little bit concerned about them drafting DJ Dallas. I think that his style of play fits what they like to see out of their running backs in Seattle. I also feel like with Chris Carson's inability to really hang on to the football a lot, he has the recent injury history. I'm a little bit skeptical about Chris Carson, but I do still love the pick there at that point. If it weren't for the injury issues, he would probably be an early second rounder. So you're getting a good value on him there. Let's see. What do I got going on? I've got and you mentioned George Kittle. This is actually in the middle of the third is about where I would probably start to consider him, but he just went off the board as well. But I've got a running back here. It's another one I'm licking my chops to get. I've been drafting him at the end of the second in a lot of drafts. I only did not take him where I took Miles Sanders because I like Miles Sanders a little bit better. But that is Austin Eckler. I love the opportunity. See, I love everything about this guy.
That was a guy. That was a guy I was looking at my chops, hoping he does come back to me. Obviously, he didn't. I think that was a great pick.
Made the right choice.
Yeah, I've seen him go even higher than end of the second in a lot of redraft leagues. It's crazy. I mean, we liked him last year when Melvin Gordon wasn't playing. We liked him even after Melvin Gordon came back. Why don't we like him this year? Like, I feel like the third round is just an insane steal for Austin Eckler. That is highway robbery at its finest. I have a running back and a receiver I really like, and something I've been wanting to talk to you guys about. I see him right here. What do you guys think of DK Metcalf and his draft price? He's technically a 4th round pick. I'm basically in the 4th round. Is it worth it for a 2nd-year receiver? I mean, he was amazing last year. He was probably one of the better of the rookie receivers. Obviously, A.J. Brown was above and beyond. But are you interested in DK Metcalf at this draft price, at basically the 311, or are you probably passing and thinking that's too high to pay right now? I mean, he has Russell Wilson as his quarterback.
We were talking about this earlier, Brian, and I'll just state my case quickly, and that's really, you got to answer the question of who's Russell Wilson's number 1 target. Who is Russell Wilson's 1? And if the answer to that in your mind is DK Metcalf, then 100% he's worth this price. If DK Metcalf is your wide receiver 2, I think that's good. If DK Metcalf is your wide receiver 3, if you somehow are able to get that kind of value out of it, then I'm ecstatic, especially if you already had at least a running back at that point. So I've got no problem with DK at 311. How do you feel about it, Justin?
So I got a couple things. For one, I was one of the big naysayers going into his rookie season because of his inability to run sharp routes and having a lot of soft tissue injuries for such a large, massive man at the position. I was very leery. I kind of even said that I didn't feel like he would even be in the league after about 4 years or so. I have definitely reeled back on that. He's proven to me that because he had improved so much throughout the season. I also feel like a lot of Lockett falling back was due to his injury. He had that leg injury probably about week 11, week 12, if memory serves, and he wasn't right after that. He was in the hospital overnight. So I see where Metcalf could really pick up a lot because of that injury, and that's why his second half may have looked so much better. But if he can improve that much as a rookie, I wish they would have had if they had a full off season where they could have worked together and they had a full training in the off season, then yeah, I might see myself taking him late 3rd, early 4th. But without that, with Lockett coming back healthy, I would probably wait just a little bit longer. Like, I might kind of personally hope that if you pass on him, maybe I might get him middle of the 5th, depending on who's there in the 4th.
So what I'm thinking here is I'm gonna go here with Devin Singletary. He's the best available, and I need a running back. And what I wanted to see what the turn would do. And the turn sent DK Metcalf back to me, because I know if I passed on Singletary there, he's taken instead of Mark Ingram, and I'm interested in Mark Ingram, but I'm not as interested as I am in Devin Singletary. So now I'm left with the decision of DK Metcalf or Kenyon Drake. I really like Kenyon Drake's value right here in the 4th round. I was not a fan when he was in Miami, but it was because he was in Miami and a running back on a bad team. But as we saw Arizona get better last year, Kenyon Drake was like the running back 2 from the moment he was traded to Arizona. He had 2 bust games, and people are taking him in the 4th round right now. It was the 6th round earlier. I have done enough mock drafts where I have taken him in the 4th, where I think I am part of the reason he is up here, because he's a guy who should be taken there. Justin, you're going to get your wish. Metcalf might fall to you. I'm going with Kenyon Drake. I feel like he's not getting the respect he deserves.
Metcalf off the board.
Yeah, Metcalf off the board, so is Calvin Ridley. And as far as Drake goes, I mean, sure, if you like a guy that's going to get like a ton of carries and a ton of opportunity, and he can catch the ball and he's fast. I mean, if you like a running back like that, sure. So, but no, that was a great pick. I'm more upset right now at the 405 that went off the board than I am DK Metcalf personally. I really wanted Deebo Samuels here. Yeah. Targeted, actually. On my queue because I think the Deebo can do it all, and I actually think that having Ayuk on the other side, the rookie, on the other side is going to help give him even more opportunity, because Ayuk is kind of the same kind of player. You're going to see both of them kind of in a hybrid role, one on either side, and it's going to make Jimmy G's job way easier. But I kind of feel like I have to take a running back here. And I'm going, since it's redraft and he has no competition, I'm going to give him one more season on those bum knees. And we're going to give another opportunity.
Awesome. I am happy. I am ecstatic. The guy that I wanted is right here waiting for me.
Hold on,
And
I
you
want to
really
talk
have
about the
to-
Todd Gurley pick, because 2 weeks ago, he was going in the 8th round. I did not think he was going to stay there. I'm happy to see him moving up, because people should not be getting him that late. That was a great
Yeah.
pick. That was a fantastic pick. I'm happy you made that pick, because he is
Really,
not...
Here's my thinking about Gurley, though, is that in Atlanta, his touchdown opportunity is probably going to drop because they're not going to run a lot of the same style of offense, and he's not going to get those goal line opportunities that he did for the Rams. But as my RB3 on my particular team,
insane.
I'm not as worried about the goal line opportunities as much as I am just the full load opportunities that he'll have between the 20s, especially in a half-point PPR. So I mean, I guess it's just kind of team fit. In some drafts, I could see him going as early as the 4th like this. In some drafts, I could see him dropping. So it just depends on team fit.
I think it's a fantastic pick. I'm happy you made that pick.
I'm a little upset that I wasn't able to upset Josh because I kind of knew who he's going for here. But
Tell us, Josh. Tell him.
At the end of the day, I can worry about my team.
So obviously I get two picks in a row, and it's pretty straightforward for me. So I'll just go ahead and grab the first one. Not that it really matters the order I grab him in, but I'm going to go with AJ Brown here, and that's pretty easy for me.
I love that pick.
I really wanted, thank you. I really wanted somebody that I felt had a high ceiling, and I think that AJ Brown sort of defines high ceilings, because we can all remember him having weeks last year where we were just like, who is this guy? You know, when people were really excited about AJ Brown coming out of college, and then they saw that he got drafted by Tennessee, and they were like, ooh, that's kind of disappointing, you know? And then he still was able to, despite the turmoil there, put up some good weeks. And then obviously Tennessee really started clicking over the second half of the season once they started to, get Ryan Tannehill in there and get Derrick Henry going, and they really were clicking on offense well. And I think that AJ Brown was a really big part of that. He's really capable of big plays. So he's somebody that, as my wide receiver too, I really like. I would like to see him step up this year and gain some more confidence and consistency with Tannehill, but he's someone that offers those really high ceilings, and I really like having those guys in my lineup. So sometimes it comes down to the wire, and you need somebody to have a blow-up game, and he's somebody that is absolutely capable of that. My next pick, the only hesitation really, it's just between Marlon Mack and David Montgomery, because having either one of those guys as my RB3 is pretty cool, in my opinion. I kind of have to go with Mac here, though, and my reasoning behind the Mac pick is just I am in love with Indiana's offensive line. They are just so good, and there's obviously concerns with Mac as far as health goes, but as my RB3 is somebody that I want to try and get a solid 10 to 15 from on a weekly basis. I feel like he's somebody that can provide that as long as he stays healthy. So RB3 Marlon Mack is really nothing that I'm ashamed of.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. Great pick, especially the AJ Brown pick. I like it.
Yeah, AJ Brown was someone I would have considered at my position, but I don't know. I didn't want to reach the 8 picks, 10 picks, but in the future, it's someone I would consider, especially if he's the guy I'm like super in love with. Justin, we're back to you. Yeah. What are we thinking here with your pick, man?
Well, I'm thinking that the 5th round is still way early for me for a quarterback, but I do like DeAndre Hopkins being there, and
man,
bonus.
Ooh.
I'm thinking about it. I want him. I want him bad. Let's check real quick. Let's check the wide receivers out. See, you got another 47 different wide receivers left that I'd be okay with. You have crap left at running back for the most part. There's a couple guys here that interest me. I'm not going to bring them up, though, just yet. Hopefully they'll come back to me. Oh, let's see. Tight end. We still got Mark Andrews out there. Can I tempt you into taking a tight end by talking real highly of Mark Andrews? What do you say, Brian?
I don't know, man. I'm the king of late round tight ends, bro.
All right. Well, then I'll hold off on that guy. So I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with Kyler Murray here. Just because the 5th round, normally I don't think that Kyler would drop to a 5th round necessarily in some redrafts, especially my personal home redrafts. They still take quarterbacks pretty early. But for this particular draft, just the way that my team is built, I kind of like having Kyler Murray there. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy.
I like it. I think it's an interesting pick,
well-
and I'm curious to see how it pays off, because we saw this with Baker Mayfield last year. The Browns acquired Odell Beckham.
Mhm.
There's a lot of hype around Baker Mayfield. He went around this point in redraft and had the same kind of price point in Dynasty. A lot of people were let down.
Yep, very true. But you're missing one key point. Kyler Murray has talent.
Oh, I was just gonna say. Kyler Murray has a better coach. Kyler Murray has a better coach. I think
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield is talented as the rest of them. Kyler Murray has a better coach.
That's true.
I love that pick, and you know that, Justin. We both have shared our love for Kyler Murray, and we're both very glad that we have him on our dynasty team that we're co-running together. We're both very, very excited. Brian, you probably are too. I can't wait to see Kyler Murray play this year. Can't wait to see year two, him and Cliff Kingsbury, and of course DeAndre Hopkins being there, and just the different things that they're doing to try and improve. I'm just excited to see it because, he's somebody that can be electric out on the field, and I just really hope that he's able to put it together. But before we run out of time, let's go ahead and get to your pick.
So I'm torn between two guys here. I'm curious to see, or three guys, honestly. I'm going receiver here. That's basically been my decision. I'm really thinking between Stephon Diggs, Courtland Sutton, and Jarvis Landry. I think what I'm going to do is, it is silly of me to not take Stephon Diggs. The Bills gave up a lot. They want him as their wide receiver one. They want to see Josh Allen get better in the passing game. And Stephon Diggs, I don't think he needs accuracy. I think he can adjust to Josh Allen, and it's Stephon Diggs and nothing else. Courtland Sutton's upsetting. That was, obviously, I thought he was coming back to me.
Just mentioned him.
I think here though I gotta go Landry. He was Baker Mayfield's favorite target. I think he takes on that he is the Adam Thielen role in the new Browns offense, and we saw Thielen be the wide receiver to own for a good portion when he was active in Minnesota. So I'm fine with taking Jarvis Landry, and I have three solid running backs where I think I can start adding to my receiver depth here. But Justin, let's get into you and what you're thinking with your pick.
All right, so I'm really excited right now because I just finished listening to a JJ Zacharyson podcast where he was talking about redrafts. It was an older podcast, but he, not much older, like maybe a month ago, but he said that if you can steal OBJ in the 4th round as your wide
I was just going to say something about that.
He just fell to the 6th. Honestly.
Then you got to take it. So I'm in the 6th round, and this is my wide receiver too. So I'm really ecstatic because I think a lot of why OBJ took the hit that he did and the reason that offense did, a lot of it was trying to get to know each other, the feel on the field. But OBJ was hurt too. People forget about it. Him and Jarvis were both hurt. So I think they do have an opportunity to possibly turn this thing around.
Could I be going? I thought he was gone. I thought he was already drafted. I did not expect to see him down at number 69. That's insane. I just assumed he was already gone. We made the joke earlier how there's always that one guy in the league who's like, oh, this guy. I just assumed Odell Beckham was not on the board. That's insane.
Right.
That is crazy value.
Better had you taken OBJ, then I probably would have taken Jarvis Landry for all the same reasons, especially in a half-point PPR because he's a PPR monster.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to take OBJ here, and if they don't turn it around, if I don't get the even 80% of the OBJ of old, then I'm still going to get a pretty decent. Okay, wide receiver too, and if not, there's so much depth at wide receiver this year, I can get somebody later.
Josh, are you looking at Juju here? Because Juju's a guy who I'm shocked is down to where he is right now, and I'm curious what you guys think about Juju and his draft price, because he's no Odell Beckham, let's be honest, but 7th round for Juju Smith-Schuster is kind of crazy.
Well, here's the thing, though. Well, end of the 6th, but there's 2 names on the board still that stop me from Juju Smith-Schuster, and those 2 names are Marquise Brown and Terry McLaurin. Now, Marquise Brown is more of the home run pick, which is kind of what I did with AJ Brown. Now, I think AJ Brown's can be more consistent. I trust that he's going to be more consistent than Marquise Brown. But we've seen Brown, blow up and have really big weeks too. He's a speedster, and him and Lamar had some connection last year. Obviously, Marquise Brown had a lot of injury issues, and there's no reason to believe that that's not going to continue throughout his career, especially because the type of receiver he is. So if I hadn't picked AJ Brown, say I'd picked more of a consistent guy or gone with a running back, I'd maybe be looking at Marquise Brown here in the 6th, liking the whole home run aspect. But I really like Terry McLaurin. He's somebody that I traded for last year, somebody that I really did like last year, ended up paying off for me and in a lot of different leagues. And so with him still on the board, I can't grab Smith-Schuster over McLaurin because I just think McLaurin is at a better place right now in his career. And I just think he has more potential. And then obviously it's going to come right back to me, and I could grab Schuster right there if I wanted to. But there's somebody else that I need to grab right now because he's not going to make it back to me, and he's somebody that I like a lot. So even though it's definitely a reach, it's somebody that I just don't see being here, once the picks come back around to me. So I got to grab him, and that's Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
That's a great pick.
And,
I think we're going to see him climb up boards. I don't think he'll end up in the 7th round, but I still think that's a great pick.
I agree.
What's the highest you guys would take him in redraft?
Well, so I mentioned when we were sort of like prepping to do the video and everything, I mentioned that, I see him as an RB2. So the fact that he's my RB4, of course, sure, is it reaching according to ADP? Sure. But like you just said, Brian, I don't think any of us think that ADP is going to stay there. I really think the hype is going to start to build. When you look at the fact that KC drafted him in the 1st round, and people weren't expecting KC to draft a running back. They weren't like, oh, Kansas City needs a running back. You know what I mean? But they did. And Edwards-Helaire he's dynamic. There was a lot of reasons why LSU did what they did last year as an offense. And Edwards-Helaire was a big part of that. He can do it all, and he's an exceptional pass catcher. And, he's sort of similar to Christian McCaffrey, when you look at that style of what can't this guy do kind of, he's not as big and as bulky as CMC, but let's be real here. CMC is a freak of nature. He's not a human being. He was built in a lab. With Superman's DNA. So the earliest I would take him, we'll see how he climbs, but again, I'm valuing him as an RB2. So really anywhere after round 3-4, if he keeps climbing up there, I'm willing to take the shot, depending on roster construction, because like I said, I see him as an RB2, so I'll grab him as my 2nd running back as long as there's not another RB2 that I value higher.
I can agree with that. My concern for myself on Edwards-Helaire is that I'm probably not going to have him anywhere, and the only reason is because, at least in redraft, I already have several shares of him in Dynasty. Don't get me wrong, I love the guy, but in redraft, for me personally, I've always viewed running backs as king in redraft. So I go running back so early and so often in redraft. Those first 3 or 4 rounds are always either 3 or 4 running backs or 3 out of 4 drafts are running backs. But I'm not afraid to take 4 running backs in the first 4 rounds. The only reason I didn't this time, again, because I felt like I needed to take Michael Thomas with that first pick. So because of that, I probably won't end up with very much of him in redraft because he is a rookie. So you have that unexpected. And so I want something a little bit more secure for my first 1 and 2, somebody that's not necessarily a rookie. But outside of that, I actually really do love the pick. I'm going to go with wide receiver again, somebody that's already mentioned. I think so it's the 7th round. So taking Juju here, even if Roethlisberger comes back and they don't have that exact same connection as last time, again, it's so deep into the draft. I'm willing to take that chance, just like I did with OBJ. One of those 2 are likely to possibly turn it around, and if they don't, again, we have crazy good wide receivers still left out there.
Yep, so yeah. I'm coming up here. I chose the 11 pick specifically because I like what it makes me do. I have to think about the person after me in their next 2 picks. So if I want a guy and I think I can get him at the next pick, but he could get taken, I have to take him, instead of the 8-2, I have to take this guy at the 7-11. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take Raheem Mostert over Sony Michel. I think what the 49ers did last year with their running backs was insane. Mostert obviously proved himself towards the end and through the playoffs. A lot of people are calling him the Damian Williams of 2020. Raheem Mostert I just got in the 7. The Damian Williams in previous years last year was a 2nd. So I think the value is there, and that gives me a good depth piece at running back when I already have some very good ones. And it's back to me again. I want to take a shot on another running back.
That Hooper's gone?
Huh?
I said, are you okay now that Austin Hooper's gone? I know that's your boy. I know that's your man.
I didn't acknowledge it for a reason. Yeah, so I want to take a shot on another running back here. And I know everybody is down on the Patriots offense. I agree, I understand. But are you really going to give me Sony Michel in the 8th round? I will take that all day. He is the leader of the committee at the very least and should see the goal line opportunities, so I will take that. And now I'm pretty much set at running back. I can spend the rest of my draft taking shots on my tight ends, my wide receivers, my quarterbacks, things of that nature, and that's what I'm going to do now that I have a solid stack at running back.
I like it.
Yeah, your RB4 and 5 are Raheem Mostert and
Sony Michel. That's pretty crazy. Like, it's unreal. Justin, we're back to you. How are you thinking?
Well, I was thinking I like taking chances with wide receivers, and I was kind of hoping to take a chance with Will Fuller here, but he was taken right before your Austin Hooper there on the turn.
Your Austin Hooper.
That's my boy. That's my dog.
That's right. Hopefully we can get a sound bite on your YouTube channel from him one day.
That's my dog.
Yeah.
Let's see. Other guys I could take big chances on. Nicole Hardman. He's a boomer bust.
Nicole Hardman's good here. Again,
I'm interested in Mike Williams. I think that's a guy who I know he's working with rookie Justin Herbert, but I'm interested in Mike Williams because he actually saw. I've written an article about it. It's on my website, fantasycheatcode.com. Shameless plug. Williams actually saw more targets and more production, or not production, more work this previous season than he did his breakout year in 2018. So what was missing? What do you guys think was missing for Mike Williams? Touchdowns.
Accuracy.
It was the touchdowns. He wasn't getting the touchdowns, and yes, Phillip Rivers was not as accurate last year with them as he was. So if Justin Herbert can just get him the football, I'd imagine Mike Williams is going to do great things. So that's a guy in your position. I would be looking to take a shot on him. I would have, but I couldn't pass up on Sony Michel and lock up my RB5 there.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. So I don't like the landing spot of the guy that I'm going to take, though. I do not like the fact that Swift went to Detroit. But I love my running backs, and he is most likely going to get the load, at least after the first few weeks. I think he's the most talented running back on that roster, and it won't take long for Matt Patricia to realize that and go with him early and often. He's very elusive, so I think he could get a lot of open field looks at a lot of downfield opportunities. So I'm going to take Swift here.
There's a tight end I really like here. He's going to be going into his 2nd year, and we'll talk a little bit more about this Denver team in the future, because there's going to be some other players that'll come up that I know we wanted to talk about. But I'm going to go ahead and take Noah Fant here. It didn't really matter if I took him at the last and the 8th or the 1st and the 9th. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. Obviously, no one's picking in between me. But he's somebody that I really like. I really think that he's going to step forward this next year. He's someone that I don't mind grabbing here. And there's a lot of tight ends, I feel, later on that I could either grab and stash on the end of my bench, or I could even wait and see. And maybe there's somebody that I can grab off waivers. Again, we all know about streaming tight ends. It's something you could do if you need to. But Noah Fant, somebody that I don't mind grabbing in the 8th and then hoping that he becomes somebody that I don't have to stream. I can just keep him in my lineup. Very dynamic, very athletic. Let's see. Oh, there is somebody else here that I kind of want to take the shot on. I'm going to go ahead and grab Cam Akers.
I like that.
I like a lot, and it's someone, again, when you're picking at the beginning, the only like downside, obviously it's super nice, you get the 101, your picks are stacked from there on out, so if you're trying to decide between a couple guys, you get a couple shots right in a row, you don't have to worry about anybody in between. The only problem is you're waiting so long before you pick again that sometimes you do have to look at a guy, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers, whatever. A couple of these guys, maybe if you look at ADP, maybe they would have made it back to me, but it's pretty unlikely. So once I start getting towards like the middle to end part and I'm in the beginning, I'm not as afraid to reach a little bit if it's a guy I really believe in and a guy that I really want on my team.
But I'm really looking at wide receiver here because
there's so much on the board at receiver. I was just taking a peek myself, and there's a lot to like, I think.
Yeah, I think, man. See, Robbie Anderson is interesting, but he has so many soft tissue injuries a lot. Slayton came on pretty strong last season. You still have the boomer bust Mecole Hardman. You know what? If I mentioned Mecole Hardman like 3 rounds ago and he's still there, it's probably a sign that I should probably take him. So I'm going to go ahead and take him there.
I like it. I want any piece that I can get attached to Pat Mahomes, and getting a Mecole Hardman late I think is pretty good. So it's back to me. Jonathan Taylor went shortly after you. I thought he was going to fall back to me, and I know I just said I stocked up on running backs, I'm good to go, but there's another guy who fell to me, and I'm very, very excited about it. I got to go with the newly acquired by the Miami Dolphins, Matt Breida, and add a RB6 to my team. You want a good pack of running backs, and I feel like with this roster I've constructed here, I have gotten a decent amount where I should not have to worry about the position for the season. Obviously, many things can change. Yeah. Another guy I'm curious. I'm really interested in receiver too. I think I'm going to take a shot on Manny Sanders and what he does with Drew Brees as his quarterback now.
I'm glad that you picked him, because I actually was going to bring him up because I was looking at him still on the board. I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on Manny Sanders and being in New Orleans and sort of where you guys see him at. I mean, obviously 10th round seems like pretty good value, but
I don't think he affects Michael Thomas as much as some people may think he does, but I think he gives the Saints a wide receiver too that they've been trying to fill for years. The past few years, and I'm curious to see how they use them. So I don't see a reason. It's the 10th round. Why don't I just take a chance? I'm a little bit lacking in the receiver department, so this is where I really got to start taking a chance on a guy who I think can get me consistent points, but he's attached to a really good quarterback, and that's how I know he'll be consistent for me.
Yeah, and I saw Manny Sanders there when I took Mecole Hardman, but I already had Thomas on my roster, so taking a chance on an older guy with a new offense. I know he did really well with San Francisco in that new offense last season, but had I not already had Thomas, I probably would have highly considered Sanders there. But also, I mean, all he does is get receptions, so in a half-point PPR with a quarterback where all he does is complete passes, I mean, that's a pretty good combination. But I'm actually going to wait until the last round, maybe the last 2 rounds, to get a tight end, just to prove a point on tight ends in one tight end leagues. I have some monsters that are still available in my mind. So I'm still in it with Kyler Murray in a 1 quarterback league. I'm not going to take another quarterback. So I'm just flopping back and forth between the running backs and the receivers. And after just talking about, never mind. I don't want him. I want the guy that I think is going to be a PPR monster this season.
I was looking at him. I was curious. But again, the issue I have put myself in is I have loaded myself at running back, and I can't be taking any more. After Matt Breida, I do need to stop. I need to fill in the receivers, and I still need a tight end, quarterback, and by the way, defenses are in this draft, so those will be coming up at some point. But we can save that for later. We could save that. We could save that for later. If you're not grabbing the Browns defense or the Bucks defense, are you doing it right or wrong?
Yeah, I'll pick up a defense off of waivers, but Keyshawn Vaughn is going to be the next James White.
I'm very curious to see what the Bucks do with him. I think that was a good pick. I actually got him in the 2nd round of a rookie draft, or no, maybe it was the very end of a first. He's very good value in rookie drafts for anybody in Dynasty, I think. Josh, talk us through your 2 picks.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I made a little gamble, and I lost that gamble. As you can see, there was a string of quarterbacks taken, and the quarterback that I was sort of alluding to earlier was Drew Brees. I like Drew Brees a lot this year. I think you can get him pretty late. As you can see, we're towards the end of the 10th round, and he was taken after a run of quarterback, or to start a run of quarterbacks. And he's somebody that I like. I mean, we talked Michael Thomas up. We talk about Emmanuel Sanders. Obviously, Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas are both first-round picks, like early first-round picks, and they're both on the Saints and catching the ball from Drew Brees. So I think that the Saints are all in. I think they really want to sort of send Brees off into the sunset. So definitely not somebody I'm looking at in Dynasty, but in redraft, I love Brees' value. I think you can get him way later than where he'll actually end up at the end of the season. And there's really only one quarterback left on the board that I feel kind of comfortable with. These other quarterbacks are more like shots in the dark to me. Obviously, you've got Joe Burrow. You could take the shot on the rookie and hope that he, blows up. You've got Tua, Derek Carr, Phillip Rivers. There's all these Teddy Bridgewater. There's all these guys that are starting quarterbacks. But the only person that I really want to grab here, because I just don't see him being available later on, is just going to be Daniel Jones. Because I think he had a pretty good season last year when he finally stepped in and started playing. I think he showed that he could do a little bit with his legs as well. So he's somebody that he's kind of at the end of my quarterbacks, that once it starts getting down to Drew Brees, Daniel Jones, that's where I'm at right now, where that's kind of the line that I draw, where I don't really want to have to go with like a Jimmy Garoppolo or a Jared Goff or a Matthew Stafford, Brady. I just don't really want to go down those roads if I don't have to. And now I like where my running backs are at quite a bit, so I'm going to switch over to wide receivers and definitely grab one of these guys here. There's 2 names really that stick out to me. A couple. So there's 2 rookies that are kind of close to me. You've got Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb. I like both of them a lot. I think Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb, most people agree that they're sort of like the 1 and the 2, and depending on who you talk to, either one of those guys was 1 or 2. So the opinion on both of them is pretty close as far as who's the better one. I tend to lean towards Jeudy myself. I do like his spot in Denver, but I already have a couple rookies here, or even younger second-year guys, so I want to try and get somebody that's maybe a little bit more consistent or a little bit more proven. So the 2 names that really pop up for me here are Curtis Samuel and Anthony Miller. I like both of those names, and I like Curtis Samuel's situation better, so I'm going to go ahead and grab Curtis Samuel here. I just think that's the best pick for me in this situation, so I went with it.
Okay. I was interested to see where Curtis Samuel was going to go in comparison to Robbie Anderson, and Robbie Anderson went 3 picks later. So, I guess I'm not too far off to have them ranked really close together. Like I said, he's probably hurt now, so maybe I might get a little playing time out of him at the start of the season. But for now, supposedly, maybe Jordan Howard is the starter for Miami. So I may as well go ahead and take him.
I think that's a good pick. I think, yeah, Patriots defense. I think that's a good pick. I think we're going to see Breida and Howard split the backfield, and I think they're both really good picks. I did take a look to see if Howard was still there when I drafted Breida, but it was Breida, and then there was kind of like a drop-off in like the value of players available for me coming around the turn, so I knew I had to take him there instead of waiting for Jordan Howard. I wasn't going to force myself in a position. But it's back to me, and I obviously need to start filling up either receiver or tight end. And one guy I'm very, very curious about, and I wrote an article about him for my Risk Reward series on tight ends, and that's Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki, we saw kind of come into his own at the end of last season, and really be the first-round pick Miami drafted him to be, obviously with a different staff. So I'm actually a big fan of Gesicki. I'm curious to see how things work with Tua, but I'm taking a shot in the dark. Tua is obviously going to be their week 1 starter. We'll see how he goes. I think I have to take Mike Gesicki here, and maybe in this case, I might grab like a Jack Doyle later to secure that, just in case I'm not super confident in Gesicki going into week 1. But it's back to me again, and I'm very curious because Tyrell Williams was pretty good with the Raiders, if I remember correctly, last season. I know they just drafted Henry Ruggs, but there's nothing wrong with having a little more speed on that team. So I'm going to go with Tyrell Williams. Oops. I'm going to go with Tyrell Williams and, add another receiver on depth to my team.
So I like the Gesicki pick because I feel like you're getting a top 10 tight end that will have top 3 or 4 tight end weeks throughout the season, and you're getting him in the 11th round. So that's one of the reasons I go late with tight end as well. We've got defenses being taken off the board real fast now. We have 3 off the board. So
the run has started. Will you panic and draft one, Justin?
I will probably panic and pick one up off the waivers as soon as it opens. Actually, no, probably not. I'll probably wait till the season starts because I don't know which of my guys are going to be hurt. Probably Jordan Howard, but please don't at me, Jordan Howard. Let's still got several of the tight ends out there I like. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and do it. You already know I like to take chances on my wide receivers here. We've got a 3-headed monster in Dallas. So with CeeDee Lamb, I really like having him in Dynasty because I don't think that they're gonna re-sign Amari Cooper when this contract's over. He'll probably be gone in a couple seasons, and then it's gonna be the CeeDee show forever. But he has the talent to possibly even show something as a rookie. So with him, Nicole Hardman, Juju, Odell Beckham Jr., and Michael Thomas, I have 5 guys that have big play potential that could pull out a top week for me. So I'll take him there.
All right, we are coming to the last end of the draft. Josh, walk us through here these next 2 picks. Let's kind of go rapid fire so we can close this.
Ruggs is still on the board as a rookie. Jerry Jeudy is somebody that I would very, very much grab here if he was available. Obviously, he was taken. One guy that really interests me here, and I think is great value here at the end, is Deshaun Jackson. If I can find him, I know he's still available. Just gotta search for him, I guess, because I can't find him by scrolling. Here he is. I'm going to grab Deshaun Jackson because, again, he's somebody that can put up some really big weeks. He's somebody that in the past was definitely drafted way before now. And I understand the reasons why he's kind of fallen, mainly injury concerns and whatnot. But he's somebody that I am all for sure. Looking at the receivers, there's definitely some more guys, but nobody that I'm like really super excited about or that I think is, anything to lose my mind about. I'll take a quick peek at running back real quick, see if there's anybody I'm missing. Tony Pollard here isn't the worst thing in the world. There's definitely value. Tariq Cohen, I think there's value there. Royce Freeman, there's certainly value. We've also got Dobbins, the rookie for Baltimore, that a lot of people think pretty highly of. But I'm pretty happy, honestly, with where my running backs are at. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab a receiver. And really the only one left that I really want to see and I wouldn't mind having on my roster is Andy Isabella. We've talked about Kyler Murray in Arizona in general and just how we're excited to see how that develops. And Isabella is a very talented receiver. He'll be going into his 2nd year. And obviously they've got DeAndre Hopkins there, Christian Kirk, they've got talented receivers there, but I think Andy Isabella really can shine, especially in any kind of PPR format. He's crazy fast, so look out for him.
So we just had 8 wide receivers taken back to back, and all 8 of them are guys that I wouldn't mind having on my team. So this is another reason why I feel very confident in hunting that wide receiver position to start a draft. Another reason why I go deep with running backs early. Everyone from Deontay Johnson to Andy and Isabella to have as a deep guy that could possibly have a big week when you need them, I'm okay with it. And then I was fortunate enough to have 3 defensive picks in a row right before me. So I definitely love auto draft. I will say I'm not into another quarterback right now because of my Kyler Murray pick, but I mean, Matthew Stafford is still there. Tom Brady should have another big season with that offense around him. Joe Burrow is going to be the starter. Roethlisberger could be comeback player of the year. Drew Lock, who I'm sure we're going to be talking about in a little bit. Ryan Tannehill. I mean, all of these guys. Tua, Rivers should have another big year. So quarterbacks are plentiful later on. So I'm going to go ahead and take the tight end just because I know that Brian is also a late tight end guy, and he just took one, but I don't want to take the chance that he might take the guy that I want to take here. This is a part of knowing your room, knowing the guys you're drafting with. And I'm going to take maybe somebody that Brian may not even be considering, but I'm going to take Blake Jarwin.
He is someone I'm considering. Look out in the future on fantasycheatcode.com. I am going to be doing, at some point this offseason, I will be doing a risk-reward article on Blake Jarwin for redraft. I had an article written about Blake Jarwin last offseason, and the second I was about to post it, the Cowboys signed Jason Witten. So I instantly scrapped it and then wrote an article about how I hated the Jason Witten signing. So believe me, I am a huge fan of that Blake Jarwin pick. His rookie season 2 years ago, he started to really come into it at the end. I think that is a fantastic pick.
Yeah, and also I feel like with CeeDee Lamb there as well, they now have 3 field stretchers at wide receiver. So there's going to be a lot of over-the-middle stuff that should be wide open. And he's got the hands. He's proven that he can get fantasy points when Witten isn't out there on the field. He can block, so he's going to be on the field. So a lot of dump offs. I love the value. I think he's going to be a top 5 fantasy tight end. Not only this season, but for seasons on out for a long time. I'm mainly a dynasty guy, and I have him in a lot of dynasty leagues. And I'm getting him really late, even now, even with Witten leaving. So I'm pretty pumped about it. And then Tony Pollard went right after me. I don't know if you saw the face I gave, Josh, whenever you were talking about Tony Pollard, possibly taking him earlier. I was probably going to take him as well. So I went down to those two. So.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tony Pollard as a late round grab. It's a whole new offense. He could easily have a role. It maybe not entirely be Zeke. We will see. It is Mike McCarthy. He's done different things, and he is looking to adapt to the NFL. I went Drew Lock here, and this was a guy I really wanted to talk to you two about. We talked about this before. I knew he would come to me at some point. I think in Dynasty is where people are having the issue with Drew Lock and this hype surrounding him, because he has gone from, he was just a second-round pick in the NFL, so he wasn't the most hyped, in Superflex startups, but I've seen people saying they would trade the 101 in a Superflex rookie draft. So they would basically trade Joe Burrow for Drew Lock in Dynasty. And I think that's where the issue with this hype is coming from. As far as redraft goes, it's hard to see the hype in a guy. Like, is it hype that I just got him at the very end of this draft? Like, I think the Broncos are primed with Pat Shurmur to have a good season with Lock. I think he's going to take a good step forward. What do you guys think? Is it a wasted pick, or is it value?
You go ahead, Josh.
So I think that it's good value, and I've sort of alluded to it a couple of times here. Earlier on when I was talking about, obviously I took Noah Fant, and I was talking about Jerry Jeudy and just the Denver offense in general and what I like and whatnot. So really what I was alluding at is I do really see this offense taking a nice step forward. They've got a lot of talent in a first-round tight end and first-round receiver. And obviously Locke has had longer now to sort of be in that system and get used to it. And I think guys like Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, like those weapons, those are game-changing weapons, and we've seen time and time again.
I think with Drew Lock, for me, I think he's either going to be an okay quarterback with really good weapons that's going to give some pretty decent to solid fantasy points at the quarterback position, or he's going to be an amazing quarterback and he just didn't have the weapons and now he's just going to blow up. So sure, for the value, I probably wouldn't have him as my only, just in case things went downhill. So he wouldn't be my only quarterback. But in this particular league, only 14 rounds, you still have plenty of options on the waivers if it doesn't work out. so I don't have a problem with it. I'm more of a wait and see with him. I'm holding him in Dynasty to wait and see. I'm not trading to get him necessarily, because the way they've built this team, it's kind of like, if it doesn't work out, then you're still only on your rookie contract. We can let you go with no problem, and we can go get somebody else next season. So I just kind of feel like that's how they've built their team. But I've got 2 minutes here to pick. I'm going to go ahead and scroll through because I don't have a defense yet. So defense. I'm going to go with Jay Sternberger, tight end for.
That's a great defense, by the way. Fantastic defense.
Yeah. The best defense, great offense. So let's get more offense. So with Darren Fells, he's a tight end that I like. I like Chris Herndon. I'm talking obviously redraft here. Ian Thomas. But here's what I like about Sternberger. I love the fact that he got hurt so early in the season that we didn't get to see him. And then during the playoffs, out of nowhere, he comes in during a playoff game when it's on the line and it's win or go home, and Aaron Rodgers trusts him with end zone targets, and he scores a touchdown in a playoff game. Aaron Rodgers does not trust his wide receivers, or in this case tight end, very often, unless he has a reason to trust you. And if he's going to go to you in the playoffs, he trusts you. So I look for Jace to have a big season, and he will be a top draft pick in redrafts next season.
I really want to grab someone who's consistent here and I think has some value. It's actually somebody that I have in my top 50 running backs. I have him at RB 44 right now, and it's Justin Jackson. So I'm totally cool with Justin Jackson to end out the draft, and I can kind of just sit on this roster. And obviously, Justin, you're thinking the same thing. Obviously, we're going to grab a defense. Like if this league was real, we would eventually grab a defense. But especially this early on, I would rather just stock up on named players and then just wait for the pieces to fall where they may, and then grab a defense once the matchups get closer and I have a better idea. I'm sure one of these guys is going to get hurt, or there's going to be some news, something will come out, and I'll be able to drop one of these guys without feeling too bad about it, and then just slot a defense right in their place.
No, absolutely. That's a great pick. I love that pick.
I do too.
This draft. The only thing I don't agree with is, even if this were an actual real league, I still wouldn't take a defense.
I just do. For me, what I like to do with my very last pick is grab the worst ranked defense of the most previous season. That is my way of rejecting the drafting as a defense. Is I'm going to grab the worst one and then change it like right before I have to set my lineup. That's how I do it.
Honestly, the only reason I would ever take a defense in a draft is, for one, if like the top defense that on my list has dropped about 3 rounds later than they probably should have, or if the season starts like within that week. Right. Otherwise, I'm not going to draft a defense just because there's somebody on your team that's not going to look good in training camp, or they're gonna get hurt during the preseason, or something's going to happen. So I want to have as many dart throws as possible, so that if one of those darts break, I can just throw it out and grab a defense to replace them then. But at least I'm increasing my odds of getting an actual player that's going to maybe help my team.
All right, well, I would like to thank the great crew from Engage 8 Fantasy. Make sure you follow them on Twitter. They will be linked in the description below. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. I had a blast. This was really fun. There's a lot more YouTube content coming this off-season, and I would love to continue to have you guys on. So thank you again, and see you all next time.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
Thanks.